has shown that he's not afraid at all to head for the net, and Carey Price looks hurt.
Back in 2015, we would see what was perhaps the most dominant season by a goalie in NHL history.
Right in front of the net, what a save that was by Carey Price.
Carey Price was on another level, as he would lead the NHL with a mind-blowing .933 save percentage, 44 wins, on top of only allowing 1.96 goals against per game through 66 games. The man let in on average less than 2 goals, because keep in mind, in today's game, you are considered to be above average if you have above a 900 save percentage. You're entering the very good category above 910, the elite category between 915 and 920. So a 933 was unbelievable, as Carey Price would join a short list of goalies throughout the entire NHL timeline, who would win the Hart Indoor MVP trophy, as no goalie has won an MVP since this season. Price would also join Dominik Hasek as the only goalie in league history to win a Ted Lindsay, which is an additional MVP trophy voted on by the Players and/or NHL Players Association. The man was unstoppable.
And now Smith wires and gloves, saved by Price. He reaches out and takes it away from Brendan Smith.
Keep in mind, unlike recent goalies who've also had special seasons, so we're talking Connor Hellebuyck,
Loose in front, and Hellebuyck made the save. Hellebuyck got a stick on it.
Igor Shesterkin in 2022, Andrei Vasilevsky,
Walk it in, shoot, and it's knocked out right back to him. A save by Vasilevsky, and he keeps it out of the net.
Carey Price didn't have a Panarin, a Kucherov, a Kyle Connor, a superstar 100-point forward who could single-handedly win games with their goal scoring. No, not even close. The leading scorer on this team was Max Pacioretty, who was well below a point per game with 67 points. Kucherov literally just had more than double Pacioretty's production. This was one of the greatest goaltending performances in NHL history, right up there with a guy like Dominik Hasek, which would then lead to a decisive 6-game series against the Senators, where Price had a .939 save percentage.
And a save of substance from Price on Terrace.
However, in round 2, the Habs offense would be outclassed by the likes of Stamkos, Kucherov, and Victor Hedman, as the Montreal Canadiens would score less than 2 goals in 5 of the 6 games this series. With that being said, the Canadiens were primed to take the next step in the following year, with Carey Price, Subban, Pacioretty as their foundational pieces. On top of the breakout performances of Brendan Gallagher and Alex Galchenyuk, add in a couple trade deadline pieces, and this team was looking even better. On top of that, Carey Price would do the unthinkable, as somehow the man would have an even better start to the season than his MVP run.
Works it over, back to Zuccarello, and that was a stop, wasn't it? The left pad of Price.
But then we would see the incident.
And right here on the McDonough rush, he slides across and watch on the way back, right there. Off the push, something tells him no, don't like it.
And today's video is brought to you by Koho. Koho is a Canadian MasterCard for spending that helps you make real progress no matter where you're at. As Koho is helping over 1.9 million Canadians by giving them the tools to make their money grow and make life better every single day. As Koho lets you spend, save, build, and borrow. Koho is one app for your money and life, which is powered by MasterCard. And as someone who took finance in university and has worked in the finance world, having a Koho MasterCard will not only enable you to make progress by building your credit score, but it will make a massive difference when it comes to those big life purchases. Buying a car, buying your first home, on top of earning 2% cash back on everyday purchases like groceries, transportation, food and drink. Not only that, Koho offers an amazing interest rate on your entire balance, with interest earned going up to 4%. This is the highest interest rate in Canada to help you earn more. And this isn't a promotional rate, and there's no minimum balance. When I was buying my first home, that's where I stored my savings. A high interest account with no risk that grew. So join over 1.9 million Canadians on Canada's highest rated financial app and get 2 months free of the everyday banking plan by clicking my link down below and using code ROBCOHO25. With the everything plan, you earn one of Canada's best interest rates, get 2% cash back on groceries, transportation, eating out, on top of no foreign transaction fees, and so much more. Scan my QR code or click the link down below. So thank you so much to Koho for sponsoring today's video. On a seemingly nothing play, Carey Price would suffer a career-altering injury. We're just 12 games into one of the greatest starts by a goalie in NHL history. Carey Price would be done for the season. But hold on. How did we get here? How did this nothing play lead to a history-altering injury? It's because back in 2014, we would see the real incident. Because in this season, Price would solidify himself as a top goalie in the league, With him in the lineup, this roster went from a fringe playoff team at best to an underdog contender. In round 1, they would have to match up against Bergeron, Chara, and the Boston Bruins. However, with several game-breaking performances and a Game 6 shutout,
Canadians have taken a 4-0 lead with under 4 minutes to go.
Montreal would go to the second round, where they would have to match up against the New York Rangers. With that being said, Price would dominate them in the regular season, as he had an astounding 74 saves on 75 shots within their first 2 matchups, as there was a real shot that he could carry this team to the conference finals. But then, it would happen. Down 2-0 at the start of the second, Chris Kreider starts to build up speed, where he then splits the Habs defenders driving to the net, where he would collide with Carey Price going full speed.
Yevlin is back, Kreider got away, he missed the net and he takes Price out.
And during the collision, we can see Price's ankle get caught up on the post. Now Montreal did refuse to disclose the actual injury, but whether it was a knee, ankle, a groin, it didn't matter. Price wasn't only done for the game. No, he was done for the season, as Carey Price was the backbone and star of this team. Without him, this team wasn't going anywhere. And this freak accident would single-handedly lead to reoccurring injuries. The goalie position, specifically the fact that goalies rely on freak athleticism, the ability to go in the splits, and explosively push side to side, means that a groin, a knee, or ankle injury can be career-ending. And not because they won't play again, but because once one of these injuries start, they never stop coming back. Think about a guy like Thatcher Demko. The man's going through the exact same thing, because this is where things get fascinating. Not only without Price did Montreal go from a contender, but they would fall to the bottom of the league, as they would go from a 50-win season with the exact same roster to being a lottery team. And this right here was the impact of Carey Price, as this drastic fall-off would also cause a domino effect to where the Montreal Canadiens would lose their direction. They weren't able to acquire that star forward. Management was getting frustrated with Subban, and guess what would happen? The same year as the Price injury, they would make a blockbuster trade swapping PK Subban for Shea Weber. This was a history-defining moment that all stemmed from the domino effect from Chris Kreider. Now, Price would get his revenge. Not really, but kind of.
Slide it in. Price stops it, leaves it for Subban with a Carey Price. Stands up, Chris Kreider.
But this injury wouldn't just severely impact Montreal. No, this incident would spark a revolution to how the game is played today, because after the Price injury, the NHL came to a massive realization. A reckless skater driving to the net injuring a star goalie can single-handedly change the trajectory of a multi-billion-dollar franchise. Yes, a player like McDavid getting injured can have severe consequences for a team, but a team like Edmonton will still get into the playoffs. A team like Montreal became a lottery team. Therefore, this incident would single-handedly spark a goalie rule change revolution. Now, it probably would have happened inevitably, as freak injuries like this in a high-paced game are bound to happen, but no team needed their goalie more than Montreal with Carey Price. Him being injured from unnecessary contact would change history. The NHL, trying to protect their business, would start implementing arbitrary rulings on goalie contact, where basically the NHL wants to eliminate any goalie contact in any form. But the frustrating part is that they don't have a black and white answer. Look at this quote from Mackenzie Blackwood. "I know what I think it is, but I don't know what it actually is." And this sole reason is why we've been seeing such a bizarre spike in overturned goals from goalie contact. On this play, Mason Marchment is literally outside the blue paint. This is a playoff overtime situation. This call could have dire consequences. Yet, it was waved off.
Review, the call on the ice stands, no goal.
And this is all culminated to this season, where we've been seeing review after review, so many plays with the lightest amount of contact. Obviously some are justified, but all of them absolutely not. But what's even worse is that the NHL would decide this season that goalie fights were over.
Darcy can get another penalty here for crossing the red line.
Everyone say thank you, Chris Kreider, thank you so much. But ultimately, I do understand it. The NHL rewriting the rulebook because of the Carey Price incident is to protect an entire multi-billion-dollar team from collapsing, as there is way too much liability in star goalies chucking fists. I personally say let him go, but I do understand it. I'd really appreciate a like on this video. A big shout out to Coho for sponsoring today's video. I'm a huge believer in this service, so if you want to support the channel while making some smart financial decisions and capitalize on the best interest rate in Canada, click the link down below. And as always, thanks for watching.